Hello, Sid here, and welcome to the Drunken Ork. And one of my last vids, which was the Wasborn Blaster Jet that I made out of the AdMech Archaeopter, somebody asked us, I believe it was Simon Thornton, asked me how I did my bases. Now, I'm quite pleased with how they come out, and if somebody else wants to know, of course I will happily oblige and do a little video showing how it's done. So here it is. So I'm going to do a 150mm buggy base with some earth texture paint, got some kitchen roll for cleanup, and a spready tool kitchen knife because it's easier to use than a brush. Well, this is Vallejo earth texture acrylic. It's a textured paint. It's brown in colour. It does come in a number of different colours, but I use this one because it's close to what I want. Basically, it matches my battle mat. So, just like you're putting peanut butter on a cracker, spread it on with a knife. Now I work from the centre outwards because that way I don't get as much clagging up the edge of the base. And you want it on at a decent consistency. You don't want it too thick, but then again, you don't want it too thin either. You want to be able to do something with the stuff that's on there. You see here, if you just tap it with a knife, you get a little pattern. You can use that to build up texture on the base. But if you just do that, you just end up with spikes. And that's not very good for a few reasons. Firstly, your models won't stand on the spikes, and two, the spikes are a little bit bendy, so I just trace the knife over, again, just skimming the tops just to bend them over as if the wind has blown the dirt that way, or, you know, whatever. You do you. If you want to build up raised sections on the base, like little hills and what have you, then it's best not to use this, but to put a little blob of, say, milliput on the base first. So when you're building up, don't just stick like a dice on there and then try and cover it up and expect you'll have a hill. But at the end of the day, it is paint. You'll have what looks like a square of dirt. That's why something like milliput's ideal, because you can build it up and smooth it off. Once you're covered though, clean your tool. It's always important to give your tool a wipe. You can wash it under the tap and all if you want, but I'm just wiping it for now. I'll give it a proper clean later. I'm going to put the base on top of this coffee cup since I finished my cuppa, so I can put the lid back on me stuff so it doesn't dry out. I haven't got that much left. About a quarter of a tub left. Now, I use this Vallejo stuff, like I say, earth texture acrylic, over the GW technical paint. What's that? That one's Armageddon Dunes. I have used this before, and I started with this, and it was pretty good to be fair. But the downside with this is it is £4.75 for a 24mm pot, whereas the acrylic stuff from Vallejo I believe it was £5.99 on Amazon for a 200mm pot. Now I've had that for donkeys, and I've still got like a quarter of a pot left. A little goes a long way. It's the colour I want, it's the texture I want, so why would I use that over this? But yep, Vallejo all the way. GW though, they've priced themselves out the game with that. They can do one. Once it's dry, it's time to give it a wash. Now, again, I used to use Agrax Earthshade, but similar to the technical stuff, £4.75 for a 24mm pot. Nope, that's too expensive for that. So I just went to the normal sort of craft hobby store, picked up some acrylic paints. I got noir because I couldn't find black. I was a joke, by the way. I got some chocolate brown, and I also got some burnt umber because it's the dogs. And with these, you can make an approximation of Agrax Earthshade, and I've kept mine in a spare pot. Now you can make it any way you want, really. You could just use black, you could just use dark brown, you could whatever. I keep adding to it to top it up, and it's never the same way twice. But what it always is a dark brown wash, and that suits me down to the ground. Again, paint from the centre out to the edges to try and avoid getting any paint on the sides of the base, although it doesn't really matter as much at this step because it is thin and it is dark. Just slap it on. Doesn't have to be anywhere near even. Once it's dry, it's time to dry brush. I generally use about 3 colours. These ones are all Vallejo again. There's the model colour, which I believe is desert yellow. suppose the closest GW colour might be around that XV88 or Balo Brown. They're similar. This might be a shade lighter, but that's okay. And for dry brushing, don't use a decent brush. This is a makeup brush I got off Amazon. Again, it was I can't remember how much it was. I think it was a couple of quid, and I got about 6 of them. This sort of stage ruins brushes. These makeup brushes are ideal. This one is nearing the end of its life, as you can probably see from the bristles are all over the shop. But it does the job nicely. And again, don't worry about being even. A little bit of variation's your friend here. And once again, brushing from the centre out, try and avoid getting any paint on the edges. Once you've done that, I dive straight in with Bone White, or Wraith Bone for a GW equivalent. Mix it in with what I was left in your palette for the previous colour. And because it's dry brushing, I don't use a wet palette for this. I just use I'll use a lid off my pickle jar for my water. That's what I generally if I'm just painting something very minor and I haven't got the wet palette out, or it's going to be a metallic or dry brushing, then I use that because, like I say, I don't want to thin the paint down. And then finally, this is an off-white. If you haven't got an off-white, white would do. Just put it straight on the previous colour and that'll take it down from a very bright white. And I just want to do a very gentle dry brush with this because you're just trying to hit the absolute tops of these raised parts of the terrain. There you go, dry brushing finished. Now it's time to see where the model's going to fit on the base. Now I generally do my bases without the models on, just because it's easier. You can be a bit more slapdash and not having to worry about getting paint all over the model. Although sometimes I do put the model on before the dry brushing, and then include the dry brushing around the tyres or the boots or the legs or whatever of the model, just so it looks like it's more connected with the base, not just plumbed on it. It also gives you an idea when you put the model on as whereabouts the model's going to be compared to where the model's not going to be, and in those bits where it's not going to be, you can put on tufts, rocks, whatever you wish really. It's a good idea to test it first though, because I have done bases with a rock on it and then stuck a model on who doesn't fit because there's a ammo belt or a clip from a gun or a part of a weapon or whatever which just can't fit on the base with that rock on it, and you've got to move him to the side, and he's not sitting in the centre of the base anymore. He's off to the side because he's sort of skirting around the rock and it looks a bit daft, so best to test it first. But yeah, I've got a few little rocks and I've got a few tufts, and I'm just going to put the rocks on, some of them in clumps, some of them on their own, same with the tufts, just to add a little bit more variance to the base. You can skip this bit, I often do, or you can put them on, or if you wanted to, you could put these on at the very start before you even put the texture paint on, and then add the texture paint around them. I wouldn't recommend doing this with the tufts because it tends to clump up in the tufts, but if you put rocks on, it's a nice way of doing it, because again it looks like the rock is part of the base then, as opposed to it has a rock on the base, because you can put the texture paint up to the base of it and around it. But if you do that, you may have to paint your rock as well. Likewise, after putting the base material on, if you wanted to, you could always paint it if you wanted a different colour. But I'll use one that's very close to what I want anyway, so I don't generally do anything like that. I'll super glue these bits on, even the tufts. The tufts have obviously got an adhesive back on them, but I've found that it's not the strongest, so I'll put a little spot of super glue on the back. Then you just pop them into place, and I use tweezers so I don't have tufts and rocks glued to my fingers all the time. Another quick test fit to make sure the model fits, and then a few spots of glue on the bits of the model which are in contact with the base. It's wheels in this case, and you glue it on. Finally, just got to go around and clean up the edges, and you can do this with a knife, but I found the knife scrapes away the outer covering of the base sides, which is quite shiny, and leaves you with a matte scratched surface because you've scratched it. So to avoid that, and as I mentioned, I don't like painting them because the paint can sort of like chip away quite easily, I just scratch it with my fingers. A little bit of fingernail, you can generally scrape the paint away, or just use the pad of your finger, and if you wet it a bit first, either with your painting water or just give it a lick, he'll not kill you. You can generally rub all the paint away quite easily. Although if later, after you've done a few of these, you're sitting there watching telly and you're thinking, why is my finger really sore? It feels like something's trapped under the nail or something. You've just got a friction burn. Don't even worry about it. And there you go, model's done. Now that probably went on a little bit longer than it should have, to be fair. Do you know what I think? But did you expect anything less? I mean, I'm not going to do a 4-minute video, am I? Of course not. I hope you enjoyed it anyway and found some use in it. I have got some more videos coming up. I haven't done any for a few weeks, and I apologise for that. I've got a lot of irons in the fire though, including a bat rep with Necrons. So keep an eye out for that. And I hope you enjoyed this vid. And if you do enjoy the content, please don't forget to hit like and subscribe. It does help out a lot. Leave a comment below. And even, you know, give the bell a little tickle. You don't want to miss any future content. So thanks very much for your time. Take care. Bye bye. Leave a comment below. That's the sound of me bin dancing down the street. Love it.